Hey guys, this is April, and today we're going to talk about value. So, value is the light and darkness within a two-dimensional work. And value is very useful for multiple things. You can use it to convey a certain mood, to create more drama within the piece, or to make an object look three-dimensional. If an object has no value on it, it's going to look very flat. Now, there are going to be three types of lighting situations you're going to frequently encounter when you are drawing or painting. Now, the standard lighting situation, like the kind you have when you're doing a still life in the studio or drawing the human form, in that situation, you're going to have a variety of light grays, medium grays, dark grays. Another thing that's going to happen within your picture is that the transition from the light side of your objects to the dark side is going to be gradual, but at the same time clear. Another lighting situation you're going to encounter frequently is a spotlight type of situation. So, for example, a theater stage has this type of light setup sometimes. Or if you look at Baroque painting, they often look like there's a spotlight shining on the figures. So in this case, you're going to have strong contrast from the light side to the dark side. And another trait of this type of light setup is the transition from the light side to the dark side, to the side of shadow, is going to be very crisp, very stark. It's not going to be gradual like your standard setup. The last type of light situation you're going to encounter frequently is a heavily diffused light source. So for example, this would be a cloudy day. On a cloudy day, you have the sun shining, but the clouds diffuse that light. And when this happens, you don't have very clear shadows, and the transition from the light side to the dark side is going to be very, very soft and extremely gradual. Now, ideally, when you are adding value to a drawing or a painting, you want to have a variety. You want to have light grays, medium grays, dark grays. And that said, that might not always be the case. There's going to be times in which you may want to just have light grays and medium grays, as well as white. Or you might have an instance in which you want to have medium grays to dark grays to black. It really depends on the type of atmosphere you want. If you want something peaceful or something soft and tranquil, you might just have a limited value range in the lighter area. Or if you want something that feels dark and grim, spooky, you might keep your values to the darks. So it really depends on your goal as far as concept goes. Now, if value has been something that you've struggled with, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is to start off from the middle ground. So if you have a painting or a drawing, make the whole piece of paper or canvas a medium tone. So it could be a medium gray, or it could be a brown in that tonal range. So you might take, for example, a drawing and tone the page with charcoal to make it medium gray. And the reason I say this is it's much easier to get the full value range from light to dark if you start from the middle. It's very difficult to get that full value range if everything is white right off the get-go. Another piece of advice as far as painting goes is before you add color, plan out all the values. Paint the whole work in brown or grays and plan out where the light and dark transitions are. It's very easy to add glazes of color on top of that. And actually, this was a very old approach. The Renaissance masters, like Leonardo, painted in this fashion. Now, they did this not because they were weak for us planning out value and shadows. They did this because it was the most economical way to paint. Paint back in the day, way back in the day, was very expensive because they couldn't make synthetic pigments. They had to use semi-precious stones. Another thing you want to consider when you are adding value to objects is what is the overall value on a particular item. If the object is white, you're not going to have very dark shadows on it. So you're not going to see dark gray or black on it, or very, very rarely is that going to be the case. Same thing for dark objects. When you have something that's black or a dark color, you're not usually going to see light grays or white on it unless it's something shiny. Now, if you are painting your image, one other thing you want to consider is what is the overall color of the object as well. When it comes to adding value to paintings, one thing you want to avoid doing is using black. Now, the reason this is the case is the best way to think about it is food. If you are making a dish, say green beans, you don't want to use just salt. If you just add salt to the green beans, they will still taste awful. You want to add a variety of spices so it has a complex, interesting flavor. So you want to throw garlic and butter and salt as well as pepper into it. Then it actually tastes good. Same thing with value in painting. If you use black, the salt everywhere, then your painting is going to be very bland. Don't be afraid to experiment with colors, especially complementary colors in the shadows. And that said, I'm not saying to put red right beside straight up green. You could just add a little bit of green to your shadowed area to make it more complex, more interesting. The last thing I want to cover really quickly when it comes to value is when you're trying to convey something is 3D or physically present, if it has value, you don't need lines. If you have the tendency to outline everything for the sake that it won't disappear, for the sake that it will pop out, if you have good value within your drawing, you have the light gray, medium gray, dark gray, you have a logical value in the background, those lines aren't necessary. Those objects can stand on their own and feel actually physically present. They won't disappear. So that's all I have for value today. If you guys got any questions, leave them down in the comments below.